Hello and welcome. Today we will talk about employee selection process. So after you've done a really good job of trying to recruit the largest pool of candidates possible, you have to figure out what can you do to select the right individual. So let's look at what variables, what content actually goes into the selection of employees in the modern era. If your organization has a good brand name and positive word of mouth from current employers and past employers that it's a great place to work, then chances are you have a large pool of candidates that are attracted to your organization and that might apply to your company. So from that large pool of candidates that are wanting to work with your organization, you identify the qualified candidates and then you assess the candidates. So this is where we have to do a little bit of work when it comes to selection. This is in the assessment phase, right? This might require interviewing, talking, seeing the applicant's resume, seeing all the applications, see which ones are a good match for your workforce's needs before you hire them. So selecting the right candidates who are a good fit for your organization is a very important step forward. And hopefully all of the data that you have been keeping as part of your recruitment process also plays an important role here. As part of the selection process, there are areas where legal issues are most evident, especially when it comes to discrimination issues. Make sure that you're not involved or your hiring practices are not involved in illegal forms of discrimination or in violation of age discrimination or Americans with Disabilities Act or gender equity or racial equity and so on. And also, if you do have a bona fide occupational qualification for a specific job, make sure that it is fully aligned with the laws. And try to follow the uniform guidelines on employee selection procedures as aligned by Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which provides legal guidance on the implementation of recruitment programs and determining adverse impact in the selection process. So there should be data-driven criteria for selecting the right individuals. This is where you want to have good reliability, a good validity for the selection procedures or variables, and you want to avoid, obviously, redundancy of the testing process to the extent possible because you want to minimize your cost. So evaluations through tests, exam, questionnaires, interviews, any sample works, etc., should be able to provide you job-related skills, knowledge, and abilities, which hopefully predicts performance of people on the job. Again, whatever measures you use should be valid and reliable. So use metrics to your advantage. In other words, use science to estimate the quality and quantity So use metrics. Metrics basically means the science used to estimate the quality as well as the quantitative measures used in personnel selections, such as psychometric measures. What is reliability? Well, reliability is consistency of measurement. It's usually expressed as a correlation coefficient on a scale of 0 to 1. So anything less than 0.1 would be negligible. Anything between 0.1 to 0.29 is considered small. Anything between 0.30 to 0.49 would be medium, and then anything between 0.50 to 1 would be large correlation coefficient. There are different forms of validity: content validity, criterion-related validity, and construct validity. Content validity refers to the extent to which the items included in the evaluation or fairly representative of the entire domain the test seeks to measure, such as being able to cover tasks on job description or specifications that you have communicated to employees. Criterion-related validity is showing the empirical relationship between an evaluation and measures of job performance. On the other hand, construct validity involves the demonstration that an evaluation actually measures a particular construct, such as a skill of interest. So we measure what is supposed to be measured through construct validity. The goal here is for you to have content, criterion related, and construct validity in all of your selection process. You can have local validation and you can have validity generalization. Local validation is showing that tests validity for a job in your own organization, keeping data in the HR department or whoever is doing the validation. Validity generalization is selection procedures that have been validated for similar jobs in similar organizations can be assumed to be valid for your situation as well. So if you can demonstrate that other people, other organizations have used and demonstrated validity, then that is validity generalization. For the selection process, you can have interviews, which is the most commonly used selection procedure. You can have unstructured interviews or structured interviews. Unstructured interview is basically where the interviewer has somewhat of a formal or informal conversation with the applicant, and there's no fixed protocol or set of questions for each applicant. So it does have low validity and a definite risk of the interviewer bias. So the unstructured interview does have low validity and there is a risk of bias on the interviewer's part. However, it can be helpful for giving more information about the job and organization. So in other words, it can be informational interview, not always necessarily selection interview. The unstructured interview does have merit as a good way to assess interpersonal skills or soft skills and some of the personality traits of candidates. On the other hand, structured interviews are interviews where all job applicants are asked the same job-related questions in a methodical manner. It's consistent. The structured interview has very good predictive validity in making hiring decisions or selecting people during the interview. There are situational interviews and then there are behavioral interviews. Situational interview is where job applicants are asked what they would do in a hypothetical work-related situation that they would be making on the job. Behavioral interview is where the applicants are asked how they handled a work-related situation in the past or in maybe even college situations. Nowadays, you can do online interviews, which became very popular during the COVID-19 pandemic era. So we can use that. Why invite people and increase your cost when you can basically get the same outcome using online interviews? However, it may have lower interviewer rating and applicant reactions. You can also do group interviews. It has increased use nowadays, but has little empirical research on the validity of the group interviews. Some people use the 5-factor model, otherwise known as FFM, to assess candidates' openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, or neuroticism levels or scores, otherwise known as OCEAN, to select the right individuals for the company. So in the 5-factor model, you're looking at various traits that candidates might be representing. For example, openness tells you the candidate is curious, original, intellectual, creative, and openness to new ideas. High conscientiousness score says that the candidate is organized, systematic, punctual, achievement-oriented, and dependable. If a person has high scores on extroversion, that means he or she is outgoing, talkative, sociable, and enjoys being in social situations. On the other hand, high agreeableness score means the person is affable, tolerant, sensitive, trusting, kind, and warm. However, high scores on neuroticism means that there might be high levels of anxiety, being irritable, and being temperamental and somewhat moody. So again, you would hire people who are low on level of neuroticism, but high on agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, and openness. So this is another personality test that can be used to select individuals that might be a good fit for your department. So openness is associated with imagination, feelings, actions, and ideas. Conscientiousness is associated with competence, self-discipline, thoughtfulness, goal-driven. Extroversion is usually associated with sociability, assertiveness, emotional expression. And agreeableness is associated with being cooperative, trustworthy, and good-natured. And neuroticism is associated with tendency towards unstable emotions. So look at these outcomes for low score individuals and high score individuals. And again, you make a determination of the person's qualifications, his or her personality, and overall fit for the job and for the department and for the team. Personality tests usually require candidates to answer certain questions on a Likert scale, such as strongly disagree, all the way to strongly agree, or somewhere in between, for items such as I am someone who is outgoing, sociable, or is sometimes shy and introverted. So again, on a scale of 1 to 5, you usually get a score for each candidate on these personality tests to identify whether they are an introvert or extrovert. At a given time, you might need somebody who is somewhat an introvert. On the other hand, you might need somebody who is somewhat of an extrovert, depending on the overall makeup of your team. The goal is to keep track of the candidates, their personality scores, and then overall their performance once they're hired for the first year, second year, third year, to see whether your measurements worked or it needs improvement. So data, and analysis and measurements are going to be your key for making improvements. When it comes to selection procedures, be mindful of what is legal and illegal. The Employee Polygraph Protection Act of 1998 makes it illegal to use a polygraph test, but does have 2 exceptions. One is for armored car services, and second is for dispensing controlled substances. So, but in general, we cannot use a polygraph test to select employees based on their answers. Using social media in the recruitment process has certain drawbacks also, because you can have inconsistent information and they're not predictive of later work performance. Somebody might say they're good employees, they work in such and such company with such and such outcomes, but it doesn't mean it's accurate. Social media usage also might have discriminatory impact based on a person's gender, a person's age, a person's religious beliefs, and so on. So be very careful in terms of how you use social media for the selection process. It's okay to promote your company, your brand, but when it comes to selection, it's best to use objective criteria that is communicated based on resume for all candidates. As always, build a reputation for being an objective, analytic, and rational professional. You can do this by analyzing the numbers, analyzing the data, and analyzing all of the facts surrounding each situation so you can make evidence-based decisions. Good luck.